Did you know that before Liv Tyler became a Hollywood star, her mom was already a big deal? A lot of people only know Bebe Buell as Liv Tyler's mom. But way before that, back in the 1970s, Bebe was already living a life that most people can only dream of. She was the ultimate it girl. She was on magazine covers, she was inspiring rock stars, and she was part of one of the wildest, most glamorous scenes of that decade. It makes you wonder, right? What's it really like to be someone who lived that kind of life, who had so much attention, and then went on to raise a daughter who became famous in her own right? That's what makes Bebe's story so fascinating. It's not just about being beautiful or knowing the right people. It's about how she lived, how she kept reinventing herself, and how she balanced being in the spotlight with being a mom. And honestly, her life is full of twists and turns that could fill a movie. So let's start at the very beginning. Bebe Buell was born in 1953 in Virginia. She wasn't born into fame, but she had that kind of look and presence that turned heads wherever she went. By the early 70s, she was already making waves as a young model. Imagine glossy magazine covers and glamorous photo shoots. Imagine that effortless beauty that everyone notices right away. That was Bebe. She wasn't just pretty, she had that kind of aura that made people want to watch her, to follow her, to be inspired by her. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Modeling wasn't the only thing she was known for. She was also part of the rock and roll world. Not just as a fan, not just standing in the audience, but right there in the mix, with some of the biggest names of that time. Think about it, David Bowie, Iggy Pop, Todd Rundgren. These were people shaping music history, and Bebe wasn't just in the background. She was part of their lives, part of their circles. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people might look back and think, oh, she was just another girlfriend of a famous musician. But that's not the whole truth. Bebe had her own lane. She was working, building a name for herself, and proving that she was more than just someone standing next to a rock star. She was stylish, confident, and independent. People remembered her for her own personality, not just the company she kept. She was, in every sense, the definition of cool. And then came one of the biggest turning points in her life. In 1977, Bebe gave birth to her daughter. That little girl was Liv. Now, here's where the story takes a twist. At first, everyone believed that Bebe's longtime partner, Todd Rundgren, was Liv's father. Todd was a musician, and he and Bebe had a long relationship. But later, it came out that Liv's biological father was actually Steven Tyler, the lead singer of Aerosmith. Can you imagine how shocking that must have been for everyone? Think about Liv growing up. For years, she thought one man was her dad. And then later, she found out her real father was a rock legend. That's not the kind of story you hear every day. It almost feels like something you'd see in a drama or a documentary. But for Bebe and Liv, that was real life. And through all of it, Bebe was there for her daughter. She raised Liv mostly on her own. She was the one who provided stability, who tried to keep her grounded. Yes, Liv was surrounded by art, music, and creativity because of her mom's world. But Bebe also wanted to make sure her daughter had a sense of normalcy, of balance. And if you've ever wondered why Liv Tyler comes across as such a grounded and humble person, despite her fame, a lot of that comes back to how Bebe raised her. Now here's where things get really relatable. Bebe's story isn't just about glamour and fame. It's about reinvention. Life kept throwing challenges her way, and she kept finding ways to adapt. She went from a small-town girl to a model. From a model to someone living in the heart of rock and roll culture. From that, to a single mom raising a daughter in the spotlight. And later, she even helped guide Liv's career. Reinvention was always part of her story. And that's something all of us can connect with. Maybe you've had to start over in life. Maybe you've had to shift your path when things didn't go the way you planned. That's what Bebe's story shows us. Your life doesn't have to follow one straight line. You can keep changing, keep growing, keep finding your place in the world, no matter what happens. Here's a detail that not everyone knows. Bebe actually wrote a memoir called Rebel Heart. In that book, she opened up about her life. Not just the glamorous parts, but the tough parts too. She wrote about her wild youth, about being in the public eye, about her struggles, and about the lessons she learned. What's interesting about it is that it wasn't just a story of fame. It was about survival. It was about resilience. It was about figuring out who you are when the spotlight dims, when the attention fades, when it's just you and your choices. And that's powerful, isn't it? Because so often, when we think of someone like Bebe Buell, we might imagine the perfect life, beauty, fame, exciting friends. But underneath all of that, she was a human being dealing with real-life struggles. Heartbreak, pressure, public judgment. And yet she found her way through it all. That's the kind of story that sticks with you. And let's not forget, being a muse to rock legends while also being a protective and loving mom. That's not an easy balance. But somehow, Bebe pulled it off. She embraced the chaos of the 70s and still made sure her daughter had the chance to grow into her own person. That takes strength. That takes heart. So, looking back, Bebe Buell wasn't just Liv Tyler's mom. She wasn't just a model, or a rock star muse, or a party girl from the 70s. She was all of those things, and more. She was a woman who lived through incredible highs and painful lows. She was someone who refused to be defined by one label. And she was someone who found her way, even when life didn't go according to plan. So here's a question for you. Do you think Bebe Buell was one of the true hidden stars of the 70s? Someone who shaped the culture in ways that maybe don't get enough credit? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And here's another question. If you could live in any era, just for the music, the fashion, and the culture, would you choose the wild 70s, or would you pick another time? Drop your answer in the comments below. I'm really curious to know. And if you enjoyed hanging out with me today and diving into Bebe's fascinating life, you'll definitely want to check out our video on another untold story from that same era. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Before you go, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a friend who loves a good rock and roll story. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, sometimes the most fascinating stories are the ones hiding in plain sight.